Hello again, everybody. I'm Jack Watson, full-time UI UX designer, illustrator, animator, and of course, connoisseur of donuts. Welcome. We've got another Illustrator illustration challenge for you today. We're going to be creating some avatars or profile pics, stylized profile pics in Illustrator that you can use on Behance, on Discord, or on other social media. To get started, below the video in the description below this video, you'll find a link to our starter file as well as links to other challenges and our Illustrator Discord. So, opening up our starter file, I have this set to be 600 by 600 pixels, this artboard over here, which it should fit generically most social platforms. We've also got a circle in the center here to help guide you for the circle crop that most platforms use these days. It's not going to export out with your file, it's just in there for your reference. And then under resources, I have a really cool link to a site that I personally love and I think is really cool. IBM's design language, their design system site. They have a lot of information in here, tons of explanations and examples of different illustration styles. That's actually like really in depth and really cool. So we're going to be working with a flat style today, which basically means we're going to be using flat colors to add shading to our illustrations. So no gradients or soft edges, flat color fills. And if I just kind of scroll down here, you've got a lot of information about what it is, what it looks like, and I find this image down here showing the shapes to be really, really handy to kind of understand how this works. So you can see on the right here, the left here, we've got the shapes just by themselves. And then as we move to the right, we're breaking up these shapes just very simply, right? Dividing them up and adding darker colors to add dimension and depth so that as we get down to here, these almost look like gemstones with how they've got darker kind of segments broken out of them. So we're just taking these simple shapes and kind of sculpting them down with flat colors to add dimension to them. So that's going to be the idea for today. I also have a link to color.adobe.com if you need help, but there is another step that we need to take before we get started. You're going to need to take a selfie or get a photo of yourself, or if you want to create an avatar for your dog's Instagram page, whatever you want, just make sure you grab that photo. I've got one that I took from my phone. There are multiple ways to get them off of your phone or your device. If you're having trouble, you can always just email it to yourself. I've got it on my desktop, and I'm just going to drag it on in. So it's going to drop it on, and it's probably going to be massive. So, oh yeah, there's my giant face. Let's zoom out a bit. And I'm just going to grab the selection tool over here, and holding down shift, we're going to scale it. We don't need my face to be that large. And one other little tip for you today, if you're going to be working on this and saving it and coming back later, just hit embed. That's going to keep that image inside of your file, so if you happen to move it and the link breaks to Illustrator, you don't have to worry about it. It's embedded in your file. Okay, so I mentioned color, and that's the first thing I'm going to start with. I'm going to pick some colors, and this is going to be a stylized portrait today. I could like literally eyedropper the colors from my photos, but I like to work with brighter colors, so I'm going to just pick my own colors. And I'm going to keep it fairly simple, not too many colors, because that can just get complicated and I don't want to get bogged down in the details. So I'm going to switch over to my rectangle, and I'm going to drag out, holding down shift, a shape, how I normally like to start making color palettes. And I'm going to start with the base color. So when I'm thinking about colors, I know I'm going to need some base colors for like my skin and my hair, and we're going to need some accent colors for shading and a dark for like my darkest value. I always like to have a lighter value and a darker value. So we're going to start over here. I'm just going to double click on my fill color to bring up the color picker. And I'm going to start with kind of like my base skin tone. So like I said, I like to work with bright colors, really saturated tones here. We'll go with like some kind of an orangey color. That looks good. And then I'm just going to hold down Shift and Alt or Option as I drag to make a copy of my shape. I'm going to double click in there again in my fill, and I'm going to add another color. This time I'm going to go with like a shadow color. I'm going to go with a bright pink. Like I said, I like saturated colors, so we're going to go with something like that. I'm just going to hit OK. And then we'll go with a darker color, bringing it down. Maybe this will be like for my hair color or something like that. Instead of going brown into like my hair would naturally be like a brown color, I'm going with kind of like a maroon. I just think it'll fit in with our colors that we've got so far, and like I said, I like things that are a little bit more saturated. I'm going to hold down Alt again, Alt and Shift, and drag out one more copy, and this is going to be my darkest dark. Now, I don't like to use pure black for my darkest value. I like to use a color. That's a personal preference, but I also just think that it like helps soften it, and it just like blends with the colors a bit better. So I'm going to pick a purple. You know I love me some purple. We'll go even more warm since we've already got like a mostly warm color palette. We're going to go with like a warmer saturated kind of purple. Okay, that looks good so far. Now we can start to get into, there is one other thing we need to do first. I want to work with tints of these. So I'm going to add these just by dragging my selection tool and clicking on this folder, my swatches panel. Doing so will let me create a color group, which will get added as a folder down here in my swatch panel. I want to make sure that I've got Convert Process to Global checked on down here in this box. That's going to convert my process colors to be global swatches. What that means is that I can use this color slider up here, which we're going to see in a second, to make tints, so lighter values of those colors. So I'm just going to hit OK. You're going to see that it's going to add my colors down here, and if I select draw out a shape here. Let's start blocking in and I'll show you how the tint slider works. So I'm just going to use this photo today, like I said, as a reference, and I'm going to use simple shapes to kind of block everything in. I like to think of this as like, I'm kind of more like sculpting than I am drawing at this point. So I've got a fairly long face, so I'm going to drag out a long shape. You know, something like that. I'll zoom in. We'll scale this photo down a little bit more so we can zoom in a little bit closer on the artboard and everything. Okay, so I've got a fairly long face, so I'm going to start with that, just a rectangle. And then I'm going to apply my color for my color swatch. You can see up here, you can drag this tint slider in my color palette to get lighter shades if I want to. Alright, so that's looking pretty good, but I also have like a little bit of a more pointed chin. My chin comes down to a taper, so switching to the pen tool, I'm going to click in the center here to add a point. You can see the little plus lets me add a point to the middle. I do have Smart Guides on under View Smart Guides. That's letting me kind of snap things into place. You can see when I drag this over, when it gets close to the center, it actually snaps that into place. The same with when I added that point, there was a little pink indicator, right? So now I can click on that center point and I can just hold down Shift and I can drag this down. I can drag to select with my direct selection tool the two outside points, holding down Shift, I can kind of drag them up. So I can kind of create the shape that I need of my face, just kind of looking at what I've got there. Maybe we want to scale this up a little bit. Holding down Shift and Option lets me scale up from the center. So there we go. Perfect, right? Well, not really. We need to make some adjustments. So I'm going to start by dragging the select with my direct selection tool, all three of these bottom corners or anchor points, not the two top ones. And I'm going to use live corners, just kind of start to drag it out to round out the bottom of my face. And if I want to, let's say I have a more pointy chin and I want to round out the sides a bit more, I can just release and reselect holding Shift the two side anchor points and drag them to round them out a little bit more. So I can kind of match the shape of my face. Okay, the next thing that I'm going to jump to, sort of working large to small, is my hair in the back. So I am going to grab an ellipse tool, holding down Shift and Option again to drag out a circle from the center there. And then I'll just pick my darker color. It is in front of my face right now, so I need to go to Object, Arrange, and Send to Back to put it behind, and I've given myself a really lovely bowl cut, if I do say so myself. I'm going to fix that by going to Command-C and Command-F, Command-C, letting go, and then hitting Command-F. That'll let me copy it in front of everything else. So now we've got a shape in front. And I'm going to start modifying that shape using the direct selection tool, This is going to be a recurring theme. We're going to draw out a circle, select the bottom anchor point with the direct selection tool, hit delete to remove it, and then hit Command J to join them back together. So now I've accentuated my bowl cut, but it's fine. We're going to use this to sort of structurally build out our hair, right? There is one other thing I'm noticing. My image is reversed. So I'm going to select my photo. I'm going to go to Object, Transform, Reflect it along the vertical axis there, and now you can read donuts on my shirt. That's going to help me kind of block in my hair in a minute. So you can see that my hair, if I kind of grab the pen tool, if I were to just draw it out, it kind of has this pointed shape, right? We're just looking at like the simple shape of it. So I'm going to kind of mirror that in my hair here. I'm going to select the hair, just the hair shape in front, switch to my pen tool. I'm going to click to add a point on the right side, and I'm going to click to add another point kind of in the middle. Then I'm going to modify that center point by clicking on it with the direct selection tool and just bringing it up. If you need more headspace, you can just select both of the hair parts by dragging with the selection tool and then holding shift. It'll bring it down a little bit. Here we go. And then this side of my hair is kind of rounded, so I'll select that anchor point and just drag it up to kind of round that shape out. That's looking pretty good. We've got our basic shape, right? But we want to add a little bit of personality to it, right? We want to make it look like my hair, which can be a little disheveled some days. We've got a live chat on Behance and on YouTube. You can feel free to ask questions and comment and chat with everybody in the community. And Corey's asking, do moms in 2022 still do bowl cuts? I have vivid memories of an actual bowl on my head used as a template. I'm sorry, Corey. With my pen tool selected, I'm actually going to click right at the center point there, and I'm just going to click to make another point, and as I do so, I'm going to hold down and drag to create kind of a curve. And now we've got that there, we can switch our fill and stroke, so now we've got a line instead of a filled shape. I'm going to go over to my stroke panel and pull up all of the options. If you don't see them, you can kind of double click on your stroke window and it'll pull up all the options. And I'm going to make a couple of modifications here, clicking on the round cap because we've got kind of a round style going. And then I'm going to increase the line weight until I'm happy with the way it looks. Maybe something like 6 point. You can keep going with this technique. We can add like a little bit of a hair over here. We can also use the same pen tool idea to add a highlight to our hair. So if we kind of imagine that our lighting is going to be from the upper left, I'll draw a shape out here so we can reference it. So if you need a reference, you can just draw a circle. And then we can just click and create a line. I'm just going to click where I want the 2 points and again kind of drag out to create the curve. We can create a little highlight here. So I've got my stroke already selected. I'm going to click to bring it to the front. And then we're just going to drag down a little bit using that tint slider to add a little bit of a highlight to our hair. Getting it kind of how we want it to look. We can go back in here and adjust the angle if we want to. Again, that highlight is going to be on the side that we've got our lighting. Welcome in to Teresa and Umacorn, all the friends hopping in the chat today. Alright, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add the ears. The ears are a really good landmark for kind of the rest of the details on the face, and they're really easy to make. So I'm going to grab my circle tool, ellipse tool, circle tool, whatever, and holding down shift, I'm going to drag out a circle. And like you guessed it, we're going to make that circle into a half circle by clicking on the path on the far right, deleting it, and hitting Command J to join. So we've got a half circle. And then I'm going to grab the eyedropper tool so I can just grab the color kind of from my face really easily. Zoom in because it makes it a little bit easier at this point. I'm going to use Command C to copy, Command F to paste in front. And then wherever I'm dragging from in my bounding box here is where my object is going to scale from. So if we have that in mind, I want to scale it from the left, keeping it on the right side, sort of like a line to the right. And so I'll grab that side bounding box and holding down shift, I'll just drag and it'll create my half circle that's kind of scaled within aligned to the right side of my object. I'm going to click to bring that fill color forward. Open my swatches back up just by clicking on it, and then I will add our pink fill color, which is kind of our shadow color for now. So we can drag our tint shader down a little bit to make it a little less extreme if we want to. And then I'll just grab both of these with the selection tool, dragging. I'll hit Command G to group them to make my life easier. And then I'll just slide it over until it kind of aligns with my face. Thinking about how on my face, my ear kind of starts right where my hair kind of ends. So we've got a ear in there. And very quickly and easily, we can go up to Object and Reflect and use that Reflect again. Although this time, instead of just hitting OK, I'm going to hit Copy to make a copy. Again, flipping it along that vertical axis. If we flipped it along the horizontal, it would just flip it this way, if that makes sense. So, there we go. Hitting Copy. And then I will hold down Shift if I need to keep it constrained and drag it all the way across my face until it snaps into position. Alright, so we've got our ears, we've got our hair. The next thing we need to do is my eyes. So I am going to grab the circle again. We're going to drag it out, holding down Shift. Make a half circle by clicking the bottom point, deleting it with the delete key. Command and J is your shortcut key. And I'm going to grab my darkest dark. It's going to apply it with my tint applied. At first, if you want to get that full color, you just tap it again. So you tap it twice to get the full color. And I'm going to keep it fairly simple today. You can get really elaborate and fancy with your eyes and make them really expressive. But I tend to squint my eyes whenever I smile, so that's what I'm going to go with. And I'm just going to drag it onto my face to see kind of how it looks. I might want to scale it down a little bit, holding down Shift. But I also need to add my glasses in, right? So I'm going to go over and to add my glasses in, I'm going to drop down to my rectangle tool, and I'm just going to drag out a shape that kind of matches. I'm going to grab the eyedropper just to pick that line style that I've been using. Click to bring my color to the front and change it to my darker value. Okay, so now I've got a shape here for my glasses. My eye kind of sits sort of to the inside edge of my glasses. You can see there's a bit more to the left. And my glasses are round, but they're a bit more round where the bridge of my nose is. That's kind of by design. So I'm going to start just by rounding out all of the corners by grabbing my live corner widget there and dragging them in. But then I'm going to go and I am going to grab the direct selection and I'm going to click the bottom right corner. That lets me, you can see, just round out that bottom corner there a little bit more. So we can get that same kind of effect with my glasses, the way they kind of look. And then it looks like I need to make this a little bit more wider, a little bit more narrow. I'm just using the selection tool and dragging that bounding box around until I'm satisfied with the way that it looks. And then I can hold down Shift to select my eye and my glasses and hit Command G to group them, kind of move them around. I want my glasses and my eye to kind of sit just out right above my my ear. If you kind of look over here, you can see my ears are over here. So I'm using that as kind of a landmark to place the rest of the elements on my face. So just kind of a tip for you. And then again, we can go up to Object, Transform, Reflect, and hit Copy, making sure we got vertical again. And then holding down Shift, not my face, Command Z, selecting the copy, holding, I'm having trouble selecting. There we go. Holding down Shift, I'll drag this over, and now we've got my glasses. I can hold down Shift again to select both of them, and just kind of get them into position, scale them up if I need to, until I'm happy with the way that they kind of look. Alright, that looks good to me. And I need to add a small line right between there for the bridge on my glasses. So with my pen tool, I'll just click on the inside, and then I'll click on the other side. If you wanted to make this curved, you can click and hold again with that pen tool, dragging it up a little bit to make a curved line there. It looks like I accidentally selected my face, so I'm going to use an eyedropper on my glasses to bring that color back. Alright, the next thing I'm going to do is my mouth. As you guessed it, we're going to go over and we're going to grab an ellipse tool, drag out a gigantic circle. I'm going to select that top anchor point, delete it, Command J to join, line it up, and then we'll change this to be a filled shape instead, switching the fill and stroke. That's a little bit intense. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. And we're going to do something a little bit different this time. I'm going to grab my two sides here, these 2 points on the top, holding down Shift with the direct selection tool. And we're just going to drag them in a little bit to round them out. It's just kind of, you could do the same thing with the eyes if you wanted to. It just kind of softens it. The rest of our illustration's kind of round, right? Alright, I'm going to use Command C and Command F to make a copy in front. And then I'm going to make another copy. So I need to make 2 copies. So I'll have 3 of my mouth shapes in a minute. Command F to paste again. For this third version, I'm going to grab the corner, holding down Shift, I'm going to rotate it around, and then I'm just going to drag it down a little bit. And if I select both of these, holding down Shift, you can see the kind of shape that I want to create. I can go up here to Window, and I can use my Pathfinder. You could also use the Shape Builder to do this. And I'm just going to hit Intersect. So it's going to keep the shape that is in between those 2 shapes. So I want to just keep that middle shape there. The reason we didn't make so many copies is it's actually going to remove the shapes from those 2 copies that I made, leaving only the center piece. So we want to have that third one to keep our mouth shape. I'm going to click to bring the fill color to the front, and then I'm going to make that pink to kind of make our tongue, our mouth, a very happy face. Alright, so let's add a nose next. Again, I'm going to use a shape to do this, the polygon tool. If you go and you drag out a shape here, you can increase or decrease the number of sides just with the up and down arrows. I'm going to go to a pentagon here. Once I'm happy, I'm going to hold with the shape sides, I'm going to hold down Shift to constrain my shape. And this one I need to actually rotate all the way around to be flipped. So I'm just holding down Shift and spinning it. Grabbing my eyedropper, I will pick the line style, bring it to the center of my face, and I will scale everything down. I'm going to switch to the direct selection tool and just delete those 2 top points. I'll actually delete the upper left. I'll leave the upper right because according to our light source, highlight's going to be on the left, the shadow of our nose is going to be on the right, so I'll leave that line and just extend it up to indicate kind of the bridge of my nose if I want to. And then to make this look a little bit less like a beak, I will click on the bottom point there and just with the direct selection tool and just round it out. So I'm really just manipulating points and moving them around. If we wanted to click on that, stroke, bring it forward, and I can change this to a pink as well. Okay, we can also add one more detail to the face with our pink line already selected. I'm going to grab the pen tool, clicking, and then clicking, I'm just going to create a little shape like that. I'm going to open up my stroke panel, and I'm just going to increase that way up. So we're going to have a little bit of a highlight right on the cheek there. Bring that color down. And then holding down Option and Shift, hold on. With my selection tool, holding down Option and Shift, I'll drag a copy out. The last things we need to do are dragging out a rectangle for my neck and for my torso. So I'm just going to drag out a rectangle, use my eyedropper to eyedropper the face color, Object, Arrange, Send to Back. Same thing with my shirt. I'm going to drag out a rectangle, Object, Arrange, Send it to Back. I'll double click on this fill color and change this to be my shirt color, so it's kind of like a dark teal. Grabbing my direct selection, tapping and holding, I can drag up to round out the corners for my neck, and then the opposite, the top 2 corners on my shirts to round them out there. Bring them up a little bit, and then to start to add some shading, I can use transparency here. So I'm gonna hit Command C and Command F to quickly make a copy of my neck, and then in my swatches, I'll grab that pink that I'm using for my shading. I'll go into my transparency panel, and I'll just start to drag that down a little bit, and that's gonna mix that pink color with my skin tone. And then, similarly, I can use Command C and Command F to copy my face shape and drag it down. Command C and Command F to copy my shape that's got that shadow on it. I'll select both of them, and I'll again use that intersect, and that's going to leave me with that shape in the middle. I'm going to eyedropper my shadow color and go to Object, Arrange, Send Backward to send it behind my face. You can see that that starts to give some dimension. I've got a little bit of a shadow, and then I've got a darker shadow right under my face where, you know, like it gets a little bit, there's a little bit of a separation there. You could continue going on with this, adding a highlight or a shadow to like the shirt, underneath my hair to kind of really start to add some life to this, if you wanted to, adding more details, etc. But once you're ready to share, we're going to go to File, Export for Screen, since we're exporting for screens. And I'm just going to export out a PNG or JPEG from this dropdown. There we go. It's going to save it on my computer. And then I'll hop over to my Discord. You can find the link to our Discord right below me in the video, again in the description, as well as I think Cody or Maud shared a link to the Discord. You're going to post in the Daily Creative Challenge DCC feedback channel. I can just drag my image right over there and say, my new profile pic. And we can share it and get feedback from everybody in the Discord. Check out what everybody is working on. I know I've seen lots of umbrellas, gift tags from Seek Bobby, snowflakes from Equus, so mazes too. Really cool stuff. So be sure to check that out. When you're exporting, you can go ahead and get rid of this little shape here for your light source. That's just for your reference. You don't need to keep it. But that's going to be all the time that we have today, folks. I really appreciate you all hanging out with me for this Illustrator illustration challenge. I can't wait to see all of your new avatars. Be sure to post them in the Discord. And we went over the shape tools, modifying the shape tools. We went over a little bit of lighting and shading, the pen tool. You can join us here every day at 11:30 a.m. Pacific, Behance, or Adobe Live YouTube. But stay here. There's more live content coming up right after me. Bye, everyone!